My garden is wild, incredibly wild. I think it would have horrified my grandfather. His garden was always so well maintained and, well, beautiful in its own right. My garden's quite sort of unkept, but it's something that I've learnt to sort of embrace. It's partly because of where we are and the location and how this garden was maintained in the past, but also because I've changed in terms of my own views on the element of how much control should you have on your garden, how much should you input, and there's obviously a lot still involved in maintaining it, but it's full of bindweed. I mean, we have a lot of wild strawberries that have just taken over the garden since I found them in one corner of the garden. It's gone mad now. It's everywhere, but it's great. Gardens with some chaos are brilliant for wildlife. They're brilliant for the sensory experience. I've not removed all the bindweed in the garden. I've just realised that actually they're quite good pollinators. And the more I leave areas, in some ways, the better it's gone. I mean, some places I had to cut back the bindweed because it was strangling the roses and etc. But in other places I've just let it go. I've tried to keep the bindweed off, like where I grow the vegetables. First house we owned, we had this like a 1980s sort of semi-detached house. Well, a reasonable sized garden for what it was. It was very gravel and concrete because the previous owners, they were disabled, I think. I always wanted walled garden, cottage garden feel about it. So we ripped out all the concrete and just all the gravel. Some of the sort of low maintenance plants that weren't necessarily very native. And we designed the garden that had wisteria going on the fence and a nice decking area. The other thing I used to do as well is I used to maintain the grass to ridiculous levels. Like there was not a weed out of place on the lawn. I used to water the grass when it was hot. But now I'm realising, going down various rabbit holes, that many of these sort of chemicals that you put on your lawn are not good for you. They're not good for the wildlife or the pollinators. So I've stopped doing that. And literally most of my lawn is weeds. It's more weed than actual grass. But actually it's beautiful. I mean, just down here we've got South Hill that's sort of taking over, and I've intentionally not mown the lawn for a few weeks to allow that to flower. And there's also a lot of good weeds that the hens will also eat as well, so I've left them as well. So generally I've looked to embrace it. They're all producing flowers that can help with pollination. Actually, let's just embrace it. Let's embrace the chaos. Why not? And see what happens. And actually I think because of that, I feel this year has been great. There's so many bees and wasps and hoverflies and moths and butterflies in the garden this year. So I think that's been a brilliant benefit, and just that experience that it gives, that sort of sensory grounding experience that you get from all these insects and animals sort of flying around you, like the birds as well. So it all adds, I think, to a much better experience. And even say in the polytunnel, well, I just sort of, unless it's a weed that I don't really particularly want, I'd say I don't really want stinger nettles growing in the polytunnel. I let things go to an extent. I think we've got some comfrey and borage growing, sort of the south zone. Got some calendula growing that I planted in here last year. That it's sort of south zone. What I do is I spread the seeds everywhere. we got loads of squash that were self-sowing themselves everywhere, because what I did over the winter months is that, I know technically meant to do this, but I just fed them squash. The chickens, that is, squash in the polytunnel. They like to come in here for some shelter when it was wet. They come in for their dust baths, etc. And yeah, I'd throw in half a squash, and then they would basically enjoy that over a period of a day or so, and then some of the seeds would escape. And again, yeah, we've got squashes everywhere. So that's part and parcel of it. I don't have a massive issue. I mean, let's say the tomatoes are growing perfectly happy in here. They're not worried about the squashes or the weeds that sit in the bottom, the base of the polytunnel. So actually, I'm quite happy. I mean, I still maintain my tomato plants like you do, you know, picking off shoots, removing leaves to help with airflow. And I will, like, I have this, I think this morning I cut back some of the leaves off the squashes, because they were a little bit crowding some of the tomatoes, and I don't want to sort of impact on airflow and also block out light to the tomato plants. So yeah, I kind of embrace it, and when we're walking around the garden, if I see a weed that I think the chickens will like, I pick it up and I throw it into their area. So they recycle it for me, create poo, create compost. It's the perfect balance of living in nature. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know what I mean. So how about, yeah, we embrace some chaos occasionally. Maybe we'll get some sort of benefit out of it. And if we don't, perhaps wildlife will. So yeah. So when you're weeding your garden, maybe for a moment you see a weed and you think, well, actually, is it a weed? What's it doing? Is it doing any harm? Perhaps maybe just leave it, see what happens. It might produce some lovely flowers. It might attract some bees to the garden. Anyway, I think that's enough of my rambling. So, as always, let's get grounded.